Great. Well, I just want to welcome everyone to our Sunday evening. Are we recording, Trisha? Okay,
Yes.
good. Welcome everyone to our Sunday evening HIT Zoom call. HIT is an acronym for Health, Income, and Time Freedom. My name is Cary and I am a sales coordinator with the Juice Plus company. Before we get started, I think Trisha already took care of this, but if everyone would just take a moment and make sure that they are muted. On the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a microphone, and you can just click on that because we have a really awesome speaker tonight, and we're going to get started with her in just a few minutes. Before I introduce Audrey to you, I wanted to go ahead and share with you a little bit about my background and my health story. So I grew up healthy, active, and athletic. I am a health educator and a creator of an award-winning comprehensive health education curriculum. So I really pride myself on understanding the importance of nutrition. So I was introduced to a product called Juice Plus years ago by my mom, and it made sense to me, and I knew that that's what I wanted to use for my prenatal. So I took Juice Plus all through my pregnancy and all through breastfeeding my son Skylar. And as I started to wean him off of breastfeeding, I somehow decided that I didn't need to take Juice Plus anymore, that I was already super healthy, but I knew the importance of getting nutrition into his body. So even at his young age, I started opening up the capsules and sprinkling it on his food and putting it into a sippy cup of rice milk. And I felt like I was being such a good mom getting that nutrition into his body. So, I think I just always thought that because I was exercising a lot and thought that I was eating a healthy diet for, what I would have considered a healthy diet back then, that I didn't need it. So imagine the shock that I was in when I was diagnosed with lupus SLE in 2008. My body was in extreme pain. I was in excruciating pain from head to toe. I had skin lesions all over my face and my chest, in my mouth and my ears. And not only were the lesions painful, but I was also really embarrassed to go out into public because I felt like, everyone was like looking at me wondering like, what's wrong with that woman? And I also had to pay attention to, what activities I could do out in the sun. My son Skylar was really active and loved sports, but I had to actually consider which sports he could participate in because I couldn't be out in the sun very much because I was photosensitive. So I had to limit my amount of time being outside because the photosensitivity with my lupus would actually cause more inflammation and I'd be in more pain. So, I was pretty much a single mom and bedridden for years. And it took me about 3 years to actually get the diagnosis. And when the rheumatologist said, hey, you know what, we've got great news. We can give you a steroid and, it should really help, live a decent life. And I literally left that office crying because I'm like, are you kidding me? At 35 years old, I'm supposed to be like living on a steroid for the rest of my life. Like that is not great news to me at all. So it was actually at that moment that I decided to commit to taking Juice Plus for myself. I had been exposed to it. I clearly knew the value of it because I believed in getting it into my son, right? Now it was about getting it into myself. So I started taking the trio capsules. And eventually I started taking 1 to 2 of the shakes a day. And, it wasn't an overnight success, but from where I was then to where I am now, it has been an absolute miracle for the life I've gotten to have back. I was always that person that said yes to everything. I loved being active and adventurous. I really considered myself an adventurous person. And I loved being with family and friends. But for so many years, being so sick in bed, I had to say no to everyone. And I felt really alone and lonely and depressed. and anxious because I didn't really know what was going on with my body. But once I started getting the Juice Plus into my body and seeing what started to happen over the course of time, I'm just so grateful that I finally decided to take care of myself. And, Skylar to this day really doesn't know what it means to be sick, and I'm so grateful for that. So I'm just so blessed that, that Juice Plus came into my family's life. And, you guys might be wondering, some of you are familiar with what Juice Plus is, and some of you may not have ever even heard of Juice Plus. So I want you to take a minute and picture growing all of your own produce in your backyard, all your own fruits, vegetables, and berries, no chemicals at all. You go outside and you pick them at the, ripe, peakest perfection, and you bring all those things inside your house. And when I say, those things or those berries, fruits, and vegetables, I'm talking about elderberry, artichoke, black currant, kale, parsley, pomegranate, papaya, beets, dates. I mean, we're talking 30 whole food fruits and vegetables. And imagine putting them into a giant blender with the pits, the peels, the skins, the seeds, all of it, the whole food. And then you take that and you actually put it through a low temperature drying process to preserve all the nutrients. And then you put it into you take the powder and you put it into either a capsule form or a gummy form. That's basically what Juice Plus is. So Juice Plus has, we have all of our own private farms. And like I said, there's no chemicals. So it's considered better than organic because even organic has to use some form of chemical. So we're talking no chemicals. Every batch is tested. It is definitely non-GMO. There's no artificial colors or flavors or preservatives. And it's actually the most researched nutraceutical in the whole world. I was very impressed by the fact that now we have, I believe, up to 36 peer-reviewed, double-blinded, gold seal standard clinical studies that are published in major medical journals. And they're testing things like that it's bioavailable, meaning that it gets into our bloodstream, that it reduces DNA damage, reduces oxidative stress, reduces inflammation. It improves our cardiovascular health. Let's see here, and as well as even improves our hair, skin, and nails, right? So I just want to be really clear that Juice Plus is not a cure for anything. We're not making any medical claims, but Juice Plus is for everybody and anybody who wants to bridge the gap in their nutrition and make a difference in how they're feeling. So with just a little bit of that background of what Juice Plus is and a little bit of my story, I'd like to take a chance now to introduce Audrey Biker, who's got an incredible, inspiring story. And Audrey, if you would take a minute and share with us your health journey.
Hi, everyone. Absolutely. I love sharing. Let's see, my story, my journey towards better health started actually when I was 17 years old, and I quit playing basketball. I remember my mom told me, you're not a starter. You're not going to make a career out of this. You maybe should just consider quitting playing basketball and getting a job, and I did that. I had no idea how that was going to affect me, but I was like, yeah, I do need to get a job. I want to be able to support myself. So quit basketball, 17 years old, started partying, drinking, smoking, all of that fun stuff. Gained 15 pounds in one summer and didn't really realize that I was gaining weight until school started, and it was like, wow, none of my clothes fit. So immediately I took it to the extreme. I took all the messages that I was getting from society, low fat, calorie counting, exercise. I started running and I started counting calories and I started counting fat grams. And I actually logged on to Slim Fast one day and tried to get my calorie allotment, and it was something really, really low. And you think of a woman like me who's 5'9", athlete, muscle, eating like 1,500 calories a day. Well, that's where I started. And then I just went downhill from there over the course of a few years. Went on to college, and I think I really reached kind of my peak of how severe it was. I stopped getting periods. I had terrible mood swings. I did lose weight. I was very, very thin, but I was craving all the time. I was feeling depressed. I started getting panic attacks and anxiety. I would get injured. I tried running track one year, and I was injured the entire season. And often would binge because I was starving myself. I would starve all weekend. And my body was so deprived. I was craving so much. So then on the weekends, I would just make mass amounts of food and sweets and junk and just go to town. I can remember having like a pretty distended belly, like really bloated, uncomfortable, distended belly. But otherwise, looking pretty fit and just more puffy in the face, to all things that are very, very common for disordered eating, whether it's, like overeating or anorexia, very common. So I also couldn't sleep, and I really had a hard time focusing in class. Sorry, I got to look at my notes. I don't want to forget anything. I began learning about fitness and nutrition when I was in college, because I was going to get a physical education degree, and it started opening up my eyes slowly, little by little. So, my severity of starving myself and over-exercising kind of peaked. And then I started learning and educating myself. But it was still the message of, you have to count calories, whole food. It wasn't about whole foods, except that vegetables were good for it. Fruits and vegetables were always good for us. You can't ever argue that. I noticed that when I was in a relationship, it would be less of a deal. And then when I was single, it all of a sudden would take over again. It would just take over. It would be all consuming. And I was obsessed with food. It's all I could think about was either eating or not eating. This is not uncommon. This is so common, unfortunately. And eventually I met my husband, finished college, and just really committed to being healthier based on my new knowledge. I was going to be a teacher. I wanted to be a mom someday. Started teaching and getting a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. So bad that I would have to leave the classroom because I was having a panic attack, dealing with a student who had an issue that I felt really compassionate about, and I didn't know how to express myself. And I just always had this anxiety. And then I got pregnant and had a baby and stayed at home and quit my job and was so depressed and so miserable, all alone, lonely. And I started kind of going down that path again where I'd restrict. And I was nursing, and I would get these terrible panic attacks. And one day I just reached my rock bottom, and I said, I cannot live this way anymore. I mean, I was 26 years old, about 26 years old. I said, this is absolutely ridiculous that I would live this way every day of my life. So I called my OBGYN, got in right away. And he said, girl, you need Prozac. And I just looked at him and I said, I am so messed up. I don't need Prozac. I need help. I need help. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting way healthier, and I know what I need to do to be healthy. And I think that if I started taking Prozac, I wouldn't be healthy, and I would like to go to therapy. And he was like, okay. It's like, that sounds great. I don't ever get that request. And he walked me over to meet a therapist, and I started that day. Anyway, I continued on that healing journey, fast forward a little bit, doing really well, pregnant with my second child. And my friend Jess, who I knew from track in college, sat down with me, and she told me about Juice Plus. And she's like, it's just fruits and vegetables in a capsule. There's really not a whole lot to it. This is so important for our health, and here's why. And she said, here's the research. And she's like, you're pregnant, so this would be really good for pregnancy. I'm like, oh my word, I was looking for a really high quality prenatal because I was starting to understand the importance of whole foods. And I hadn't found anything. So I looked at the research, talked to my husband, and he's like, yeah, that'd be really good. Actually, at that time, I had just had my worst winter and worst year of my life with illness. It was almost like my immune system crashed. It was like right before I got pregnant. My daughter was 1, and she would take home all these viruses from the daycare, and I would get every single one of them, hand, foot, mouth, head colds, stomach flus, all of it. I would get it. And then it would turn into an infection. So just when she sat me down, I had just been through that. So my husband, when I show him, like, look at the research of this product, it's just fruits and vegetables. He was like, okay, it's not going to hurt you at this point. I think we can't really get much worse. Every time I would get over something, I would start getting that tingles right here in your throat, and your glands were swelling. That would be 2 days later, after I felt like I just got over a virus. So, fast forward a couple of years. Well, actually, after I had my son, he was born so healthy, 8 pounds, pink and beautiful. And the doctor stretched his umbilical cord around across the room. And he's like, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. And I didn't tell him about Juice Plus because I was scared, but I was so, convinced that it had to do with that. And then I went on and had another baby. So I have 3 kids now. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. And I've been on Juice Plus for 7 years. Officially 5 years antibiotic, all prescription drug free. I have not been on a prescription drug in 5 years. And I had been on so many drugs for chronic sinus infections and pneumonia. You name it, I was getting it. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's always amazing to me to hear all the different incredible healing stories and the different journeys that people have been on. So thank you for sharing your health journey, and we're so glad that you're feeling better, and all the knowledge that you've learned across, along the way is always so priceless. So just as amazing as our Juice Plus products are, the Juice Plus business is just as amazing. So you don't have to do the business to take the products, but I do feel like I would be silly to not at least share the business opportunity with you. So as I mentioned, I actually learned about the Juice Plus company years ago from my mom. And, for me, it was right away a no. I think I was like just out of college, when she started doing it. And I just was at a different place in my life. But what I did see is I saw her go from having a really successful interior design business to all of a sudden this really successful Juice Plus business. And even though I kept saying no, I kept showing up to different events and going to different conferences. And it always just seeped in me that, just like the greatness of what the company was. And, I was always inspired / I would always do the whole I'm so annoyed because I'm the daughter, but it was really, I was so inspired by what she was doing with her life with Juice Plus and all the friends that she had. And so, I watched that. But in the meantime, I decided to go the route of public health. And ultimately, like I said, I designed an award-winning comprehensive health education curriculum. And I was really committed to getting health education into schools. Well, we all know how the school systems are lacking massive funding. And, it just really wasn't, it was not a very lucrative business for me. It's had its moment. But there was like this divine moment where everything just kind of like lined up, and it was like, oh my gosh, why am I not saying yes to this business? For $50 a year, I now have my own virtual franchise. And, that's like unheard of, to be able to start, you know, your own business for only $50, and to be able to really work from anywhere. I mean, as long as you have a phone, you can truly work this business anywhere. And, you know, our call is really, you know, the HIT acronym is health, income, and time freedom. So we shared about the health, and now, you know, we're touching on the income and time freedom. This has actually allowed me to be able to be accessible to my son, accessible to living a life that, you know, really feeds my soul. And I wake up excited to share this and to do the business, and I can do it in, you know, my own timing. And so I think that that was one of the best things that I ever did. It took me a long time to say yes, but I'm so grateful that I did. You know, Audrey, you know, you said yes to the business too. What was it that that had you say yes?
Yeah. So now, now I'm a holistic health coach, and I didn't know then what I know now, but it was all important part of the journey that I was on. Jess actually shared the business with me 7 years ago when she sat me down and told me about the product. And I was just in a very, insecure and just not ready for that kind of thing place. That's where I was as a stay-at-home mom. And I was just trying to figure myself out and find my identity. And she sat me down 4 years in to taking the product. And she said, Audrey, I just want to revisit this idea of you joining my team, my Juice Plus team. And at that point, I had experienced so much healing and so many simple changes that I was doing over time. I started with Juice Plus, but then that motivated me to add in more whole foods and just simple small changes over time. And then I was just so much more balanced and healthy with my 3 kids. And I was just weaning my last baby, and she's like, I just want you to join my team. And it made so much sense to me because I was already sharing it with everyone I knew, and I wasn't benefiting from sharing. And I needed something. I was hungry for change. I felt more balanced, but I felt like there was just this one tiny missing piece where I needed to take care of myself, and I needed to do something for me and not always for my kids, always for my husband. I wanted to kind of have that identity that I, was questioning for all those years. And there's a reason why I went to college. There was a reason why I wanted to be a career woman, and I never was. I got pregnant really soon, and that was an awesome surprise, but it wasn't really what I had planned. So when Jess asked me again with our leader, Kim, I was like, absolutely, this is such a cool company. It's so amazing. And I hadn't had the inside scoop yet. I was still on the outside.
That's awesome. And, a few of the other things that I'm sure you can probably agree to at this point too is, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy that I don't have to work for a boss and that I don't have to keep a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So again, that flexibility and that time freedom. But one of the things that also really appeals to me, and now more than ever, because of the way that our healthcare system is working, I am just so excited for the fact that Juice Plus offers the full benefits package. And when I'm talking about the full benefits package, we're talking medical, dental, chiropractic, vision, short-term, long-term, college tuition reimbursement, bonuses, and so much more. And that just absolutely catches my attention big time, and makes me just even that much more excited about being a part of this business and being able to offer that to people now more than ever. So for $50 again a year, to give people a chance to own their own life and to be able to have the same types of benefits that you would get from working in a corporate environment, but doing it in your own in your own way is just so awesome. So we're running short on time, but I do want to quickly just run through and mention a little bit about what the Juice Plus company is, or who the Juice Plus company is. You know, Juice Plus is mission driven. We're committed to inspiring healthy living and giving around the world. We have actually been in the health and safety industry for over 45 years, and we've been doing Juice Plus for 23 years. We've had the same president, Jay Martin, since day one. And for those of you that are living in Phoenix locally, Jay Martin is actually going to be here speaking at a regional this weekend at the Orange Tree Resort in Scottsdale. So get with the person that invited you if you want more information on that upcoming event. Juice Plus is known as the company with a heart, and there's so many things that I could say about this, but I'm just going to list a couple. First of all, we are the largest supporters of the St. Jude's Foundation, and we are committed to donating up to 10 million Juice Plus Complete meals through Volunteers of America. We are also working on getting a tower garden into every Boys and Girls Club throughout the United States. And, you know, that just reminded me that I didn't talk about basically our flagship products are the capsules and the gummies, but we also have our Juice Plus Complete shakes and bars. And then we also have an amazing aeroponic tower garden, so you can grow your own fruits and vegetables all year long. So before we get knocked out of this call, because I think we're running low on time, I also just want to mention to you that, you know, we appreciate your time so much tonight. We had a really great turnout, and I know the Golden Globes are on and probably some great football games and all of that. So we really appreciate your time. And Audrey, we really appreciate hearing your incredible story. And, you know, you can do a couple of different things tonight with this call. You can take the information you heard, and we're just so grateful that you joined. You can actually consider taking the products and knowing that it's going to make a huge difference in your health and your family's health. And if you decide to do that, then, you know, we're super grateful and happy for you, because you're going to really enjoy the benefits. But maybe you heard something tonight about, you know, what this community is. And really, we're not just mission driven. We're actually oh my gosh, my distraction in the background. I'm so sorry. We are mission driven, but we're also, you know, starting a revolution, and it's a healthy living revolution. So maybe you're inspired to participate in that. Maybe you heard something about the business tonight that intrigues you, or being able to volunteer and give back in some way, and inspiring healthy living. So whatever it is, whatever level that intrigued you tonight, I just ask that you talk with the person that invited you to this call, and you guys can kind of figure out what's the right next step for you in your journey. And I think that that's pretty much it. We have events all week, all the time. So again, talk to the person who invited you. And we always have our HIT Zoom calls every Sunday evening at 7:30 p.m. Arizona time. And then we have calls throughout the week on getting more information on the product and the business, and local events all over the place. Like I said, we've got our regional this weekend here in Arizona. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time tonight, and Audrey for sharing your story. And I hope everyone has an amazing weekend or week ahead, and a great night. Thank you,
Audrey.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Audrey and Cary.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.